National Congress are preparing for complex coalition talks as a party once led by Nelson Mandela has been hit by worst election result since apartheid ended 30 years ago. The ANC has 40% of the result from more than 98% of voting districts declared. This outing comes as a sharp drop from the last election when it got 57%. This now means it will have to share power with one or more political parties. The Centre-Right Democratic Alliance, DA, remains the second largest party with 22%. The new MK party, led by ex-President Jacob Zuma, is in third place with 15%. It replaces the EFF, whose share of the vote falls to 9%. The distribution of seats in the 400-member National Assembly directly reflects the vote share. Now, for more on this election, political analyst and commentator Olabode Hussaini joins me now via Zoom from London. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, can we quickly have your thoughts on the updates we have from that election? Why is the ANC struggling to get a clear majority after 30 years of dominance?
I think the straightforward answer to that is what ANC put in is what they got out. Bad performance, failure in all aspects of governance. They've not done very well. The people become they get poor. They become poorer and poorer. And less than 5% of South Africans since the apartheid are riding high. The remaining large number of percentage of the people remain poor, and that is not what the people want. And when you look at the way things are in these days, electorate are now becoming wiser. They're becoming clear of their rights, knowing what they do, and that is the result that the ANC got after 30 years or whatever in power is the poor performance they put into governance.
The ANC seems prepared for this free fall. What do you also think of? We've had young people coming out in large numbers voting against the party. Now, this is something that we have not experienced in past elections. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. If you look at some other African countries, but let's stick to South Africa, because the young people are the people that are bearing the brunt. They are now feeling it. They now that are now suffering from bad governance of ANC. They're the one that when they finish education, they have no prospect of jobs. Unemployment is very, very high among the youth. The youths are like the one that says, you know what, we need to get rid of this government. We cannot continue with them. We want to look elsewhere. And from the results, they are shocked. They have seen other upcoming political parties might be a better option to ANC. And that's why I think they have chosen to drop voting for ANC in a large scale.
Now, the ANC lost support in big cities a long time ago. Now, it is losing support in rural cities as well, as you earlier confirmed. Now, what is the implication of this, and what does this mean for the ANC and, of course, the South African landscape, political landscape?
Yeah, I hope ANC, the directorate, the upper echelons of ANC, the leadership and so on, will get the message, because this is a signal. This is a signal that if they did not do what they have to do, the party might, can disappear. Might not be immediately, but the likelihood that it's going to disappear, even at the rural area. The rural area, they're supposed to feel them more. They feel neglected, they feel abandoned. And also in the big cities, the youth also feel they cannot bear the brunt anymore. They think they have been abandoned, that the politics of ANC is just not looking after their welfare. And I can understand that well, maybe as a grandfather, as whatever. I'm also somebody living in a country where the welfare of the people, the masses, come first. But in most African countries, the masses have to come last. So now, but they are now waking up, say, you know what? If you're not treating us right, we are going to also dump you when election comes.
You are surprised by the performance of the respective political parties. I mean, especially the newly formed MK party, backed by former President Jacob Zuma. Are you taken aback by of course, the performance of the respective parties?
Yeah, don't forget that Jacob Zuma is still very, very popular, despite all his shenanigans, all what happened during his time in office, and all what Jacob Zuma is looking for now is a national pardon to continue to have relevance in the landscape of South African politics. But having said that, when you look at the performance of BOSA and EFF, they've done very well. Now they're in position to call the shot, because the ANC will not be able to have an outright majority. They will now have to be at the mercy of these small parties. And with the small parties, they have their manifestos, they have their agendas, they will have to dictate to ANC. So ANC will have to come down on their high horses, because without it, they cannot form government. They now have to form a kind of a coalition with these small parties you mentioned.
All right, let's quickly talk about the incoming government. What do you think the new government would do or can do for South Africa? What are your thoughts?
The good thing about this is when we just said that it's the likelihood that ANC may remain the largest party, but they are not going to be able to form a government on their own. So the beauty of coalition is the small parties that are going to coalesce with the ANC will have to also put their conditions, their agendas, their manifesto, what they want to be saying. They want to put it together. That has to be incorporated by the big party like ANC. So ANC has no choice. So the outcome might do some little changes, might generate some changes for the people of South Africa, because once you want, it's not like a relationship of a man and a woman, and then both of you want to bring different things to the table. So EFF and BOSA will want to bring their condition to the table. They want to tell the big party, there are no more big party anymore, because in Western world, in a parliamentary democracy, if you don't have an outright majority, you have to collate with smaller parties. You have to listen. You have to come down on your high horse and do whatever the small party wants you to do. Otherwise, there might be another election and they may lose it completely. So the majority of South Africans are now, they want to see that the coalition will help them, because the message that has not been, that the big party, the ANC, has not been doing what they're supposed to be doing. They have not been doing it. Now with coalition with small parties, they vote for, because they know what they are doing. The electorate now know what they are doing. If you look at BOSA having millions of votes, which was not the case 30 years ago, so they are sending a message and say, look, go there and represent us. And when EFF and BOSA go and represent them, they would definitely insist on their own agendas.
All right, we may have to leave it there for now. Political analyst and commentator Olabode Hussein is sharing his thoughts with us on the South African election. Thanks indeed for your time with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Right. A former President Donald